so welcome to this week's episode of the Inherent Risk Podcast. Our guest is former D1 hockey player Tanner Lomsnes. Tanner, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so first off, just wanted to ask, how have concussions affected your life, both on and off the ice?
Well, in short, it ended my hockey career and left me with severe health injuries. But I guess a concussion for me has affected my life in every aspect. Like leaving the health side out of it has affected my relationships, my schoolwork, my passions, everything. It just consumes someone, and that's all they can focus on. So it ended my hockey career and ended my I lost my passion, but it also took a lot more than just that athletic ability. It took basically who I was as a person, and I lost my identity because of it.
And hey, that's a great answer, and that's a lot with kind of what I was dealing with in terms of losing my identity, and that's what people don't realize when you get an injury so severe as a brain injury. What would you say some of the symptoms that you're dealing with today?
Right now, I'm dealing with light sensitivity, noise sensitivity. The main thing is the pressure in the head and the constant headaches that I'm dealing with. And again, like I've kind of learned on what makes my symptoms even worse. So I've built all these limitations within my lifestyle. Like I haven't been able to ride a bike yet, or go on a boat, or even driving a car. I get nervous. So I've built these limitations already to kind of soften my symptoms. But yeah, there's not a second goes by that I don't deal with my symptoms in some fashion, or it has affected my life.
Yeah, and it's all a learning experience, and I think that's great that you're able to see kind of more down the road how it affects you, but also kind of look at the positives to it. Um, what do you think is the most valuable thing you've learned from your recovery?
Kind of who I was as a person. Before my injury, I kind of never made decisions on my own. I was always structured, always was told what to do and how to act. And then after my concussion, it kind of, I guess, recreated me as a person, and I've been able to make decisions on my own and figure out what works for me and what doesn't work for me, and the benefits from different treatments I've got.
Oh, that's really interesting, and that's a really helpful point. What would you say is your perception of concussions kind of after as opposed to before you got them?
I think, like most of us, I was uneducated and unaware of the severity of concussions. Like it's an invisible injury, right? So it's hard to understand what people are going through or recognize that they're actually dealing with it. So I was definitely unaware of it and didn't take it as seriously as I should have. I wish I could have known what I know now back, and I would have took my rehab and my recovery way more seriously, because it does affect everything. And I think it should be considered way more of the severity and risk than a normal injury, because just how much it consumes someone and impacts their life. Like I know I lacerated my lip the year before and spent 2 days in the trauma center dealing with internal bleeding, and then I was in a hospital down in Buffalo, and it's pretty severe injury, but like it was nothing even close to what I've dealt with through my concussion. So it's just that recognition of how important and how crucial the rehab and the severity of this injury is.
Yeah, no, and you talked about it being an invisible injury, and that's a kind of perfect why we're trying to do this, have these conversations, is get the awareness out and get the education out. One of the unique perspectives you have kind of on the outside of your hockey career now is, what would you kind of give to the next generation of hockey players?
Like I said, I think you got to be cautious on the positions you put yourself in within the game of hockey, but also just in life. And then once you do sustain, like I think it's inevitable that everyone's gonna be affected by a brain injury, severe or less severe, throughout their life. But just how how crucial and how important it is to take the time to recover and understand that, like, this could be a life altering injury that you got to be fully committed to recovering.
And kind of one of the things that we've dealt with talking with a couple of our other interviews is the idea of locker room talk. And is there anything kind of you can talk about locker room talk in your experiences with hockey that you think needs to change about concussions?
Well, I think I know there was a guy on my team who was also dealing with post concussion syndrome, And I know my reaction when he wasn't able, because he was a really good player and I wanted him in the lineup. And half the time I just thought, oh, it was just in his head, right? Like he just has this kind of placebo effect on that he has an actual injury. And I never really gave him the, and then when I suffered it, through the worst part of my life, arguably close to hell, and I was feeling the same kind of opinions or expressions from my teammates, not taking this injury as seriously as I could. So I think the culture around it definitely needs to change, but that just comes through, unfortunately, people experiencing it, and as well as educating people on just kind of what a concussion actually is, and or a traumatic brain injury.
That's a great answer, and I can relate in my recoveries that idea of people not realizing what you're going through unless they've been through it myself. And I know my producer Jake is kind of the same thing where we were able to use each other as an outlet because he's been through a brain injury, but beyond that, it didn't really exist. So that's another kind of reason why I'm happy to be talking to you now, is just hearing your opinion, hearing what you've been through, so that other people can kind of hear that and get the awareness out.
Mm.
So what are some ways you think we can improve player safety in hockey today?
Like, I don't want to change the game of hockey. Like, I think it's in a good place right now, and I think we've come a long way. But again, it's just that I think everybody who suffers even close to a brain injury or takes a hit to the head needs to be diagnosed by a doctor. I know they're doing that in the professional league and stuff, but I don't think that's in the collegiate or the minor hockey system yet. So I'd like to see that implemented, and just kind of more awareness or a concussion protocol put in place for people to kind of understand what is all going to be affected, and especially not for you individually who is affected, but how to be there and support people who are going through these situations. Because I know for me, like, I wouldn't have got through what I've been through alone. So having that support system, like, I owe a lot of my recovery to this point to a lot of my friends and family that have stuck by me and supported me, even if that's just a text or reaching out. It meant more than they would ever know.
No, and that's great, and that doesn't make you weak for asking for support, because it can be so tough when you have a brain injury to even simply reach out to someone else. So it's great that you can recognize that, and also kudos to those people that were able to stand by you and support you. What's your opinion on fighting in hockey today, both in terms of your career and in terms of going forward?
Like, again, I think there is a place and time for it in the game of hockey, and like, but I'm not a dinosaur, and I understand that, like, not other sports have like people just trying to knock each other out and swinging as hard as they can and doing that. But I think looking at the statistics, there's way more injuries due from hitting in hockey than there is from fighting. But again, there's way more. It's kind of skewed because there's way more hits that occur in a course of a game than actual fighting. But I think there is a place and time for it. But again, there might need to be proper training and techniques, and then also a limit on how much fights can actually be happening in a game.
What are some of the challenges that you face as a student athlete dealing with concussions?
A lot. I guess to begin with, just the pressure of trying to get back in recovery. Like, I owed it to my team. I could. I know they wanted me back in the lineup, and I felt like I was a big part of the team, and I was letting them down. But then also, my coaches provided me with a full ride scholarship, right? And not kind of living up to my end of the bargain due to a health injury was tough for me. And then academically, it's tough when you're dealing with a headache. Like, I was waking up with headaches right as morning, dealing with them all the way until I went to bed. So like, throughout that time, I was pretty immobile and couldn't really do much. But then I was forced to stare at a computer for 3-4 hours to get my homework done, right? So I think that even stunted my recovery. But it was something I was like forced to do. But it was definitely the hardest time I've ever been through in my life.
Are you studying anything that's related to kind of exercise science and dealing with brain injuries? And does that have anything to do with what you're going to do in the future?
I'm not currently studying anything right now with regards to that, but just being through this process and trying the multiple recovery techniques and treatment options, I've kind of learned a lot through it, and just kind of hopefully to be a voice to people who are going through that, or just a shoulder to lean on. Because, like, again, we've all been through adversity in our life, and like, again, I don't want to say my adversity is worse than other person's, and like, we all got our own shit, but it's just trying to be a voice that someone can relate to and get some inspiration from.
What are some of the resources that you use now, whether it be therapies, supplements, kind of methods of things that help you that kind of control your post-concussion syndromes?
So I tried just about everything. I tried chiropractor, massage therapy, visual therapy, nerve injections. Like tried just about all, but the ones I'm focused on right now are neurofeedback treatment. I also get Botox injections in my head and my neck. And then I'm also on a trial drug, which is an injection once a month called Emgality for migraines and head injuries. So, but again, I want to make sure that people realize that like just because these have been helping for me doesn't mean it's going to be beneficial to other people, because I think we all kind of experience and relate to different treatments different. So it's like there's no right answer on how to treat a concussion. That's why it's so, all this gray area is so difficult for people to pinpoint the reason why. So just trying to giving people the outlets on what options could be out there for them, and then kind of helping them and facilitating them to make their own choices.
You hit the nail on the head there. Yeah, no, that's a great answer. Um,
I just
I
wanted
was
to
I was
ask you a
Yeah, go
question,
ahead, Jay.
Tanner. Speaking of specific therapies that I've tried out myself for concussion symptoms, have you ever tried craniosacral therapy?
I have not.
I've actually been doing it for the last like three months now, 2.5 months. I found a lot of breakthroughs in terms of how I feel on a day-to-day basis with that. It's like a very light brain massage, I guess you could kind of call it, where it kind of helps reset some of the bones and the cranium and the sacrum that might have been shifted or misaligned after head injuries.
Okay.
And yeah, the lady that does it for me like learned it from the person who like created it, and Joel's had it done as well, and he's
Yeah.
found some decent results from it as well. So yeah, definitely something to keep in mind. I just wanted to put that out there as you continue to discover and experiment with various types of these things.
No,
Yeah.
that's great. As Tanner was just saying, there's no template for the concussion, and that's what you experienced and what you experienced. For me, I did go through a little craniosacral therapy. For me, an osteopath is what really was the big breakthrough. I was dealing with some chronic issues in my neck and my back, and it really kind of opened my bloodstream again, and I was able to kind of get rid of a lot of the headaches. And CBD is the big game changer. But that's exactly what you said: is that no one should kind of understand that concussions are not the same for everyone.
Mm.
Um, would you pursue the same hockey career knowing what you know now?
Uh, like obviously this took everything from me, and I had to make a lot of sacrifices, but I think I would just have that uh, intentive on what a brain injury is and that education on how I should be recovering. Again, I love the game. I love this. I love what it's given me and the places I've been and the people I've met and the relationships I've made. So again, this has been the worst thing I've ever gone through. But again, I don't have any hard feelings towards the game or what I've been through. So yeah, I would definitely still be playing, but hopefully just with a little bit more caution and understanding of kind of what a TBI is.
Are there ways that you've looked to kind of further your career in hockey without having played?
Like I think so. Like I would still love to be part of the game, and like that's my passion, and that's kind of who I identified as a person, right? I ever since I was 8 years old, I was known as Tanner the hockey player, and that's how I introduced myself. And the first person that or whoever asked me like what I was doing, they would always ask me how hockey's going. So that's kind of how that's who I was as a person. But then when that brain injury happened and I lost my career, I kind of lost my identity, and I struggle with figuring out who I am as just like a regular person. Which again, there's nothing bad with just not being athletic, but it was just something that would just consume me. So again, I would love to get back into the game in some aspect, but right now I'm just trying to still figure out who I am as a person and kind of what the future will hold for me.
Oh, that's important, and being self-compassionate and figuring out who you are is crucial, especially when you're dealing with a brain injury. How important do you think it is to understand the role of stigma in relation to concussions in sports?
Yeah, it's crucial. That stigma is the thing that costs a lot of people their careers, a lot of people their health, and then unfortunately a lot of lives, right? Like I know when I was going through it, like there was nothing that I wouldn't do to not feel the effects that I was feeling, right? Like I had pressure every single day. And I remember looking at my roommates saying I would do whatever I could right now to not feel this pain anymore. Unfortunately, I didn't turn to substance abuse or anything like that, but I can totally relate to people why they do that. And it's not, they're not sick and they're in pain. And that's just something that stigma has kind of covered up. Again, we have to try to keep challenging that and overcoming it through education, awareness, and then unfortunately people going through it. But the more people that understand it and want to be a voice is just going to help promote this message.
You talked about challenging the stigma, and that's what we're all about at HeadsupCAN. So that's a perfect answer. Lastly, I just wanted to ask you, what's your best piece of advice you could give to anyone out there that's struggling with concussion?
Don't give up. I know there was times I've been doing this for 3 years. There was times that I didn't really see a light at the end of the tunnel. I know it's sad to say, and it's kind of shocking for someone who I thought I had it all made, and I was in a really good spot. But there was a lot of dark days, and I understand that. So I would just say, just try to lean on the people that are most important into your life. I know it's going to be hard for them to relate to you because they, again, might be uneducated or just haven't experienced it, but it will get better. It's just going to take time and patience. But I think with that positive attitude and staying committed to the process, I think that will be your best hope in trying to become normal again. I know for me, like I didn't feel normal and I couldn't even do the normal things until a couple months ago. So I know it's the worst thing you'll ever go through, and it's something that I don't even wish on my worst enemies. But if you believe in the process and you believe in yourself, I think you will overcome this.
That's a great piece of advice. Is there anything that we didn't cover here that you wanted to kind of talk about?
Not really. I just know that I really appreciate what you guys are doing and trying to raise awareness for something that's affected so many people, and like people don't understand kind of how many lives have been affected from this. Not just only like my life and I've been dealing with this, but like my family sacrificed so much, my friends have sacrificed so much or dealt with so much and gone through so much. Like right when I got hurt, I wasn't the nicest or easiest person to get along with, right? I lost my passion, I lost my career, I lost what I thought I was going to do for the rest of my life. I ruined relationships. Like I just wasn't in a good spot. So I just want people to know that it's going to get better and to kind of keep sticking it out, because that's all you can do right now. And there is grass on the other side, and it's a lot greener than this side.
Honestly, thank you. I do appreciate you sharing that and sharing your story. And I really hope this has been a good experience for you because we've really enjoyed listening to you. Jake, did you have any last questions?
Yeah, I just had one kind of ties everything up with a lot of what we've already talked about. But I'm just curious for everyone that would be listening to this and people that potentially would be pursuing a career in hockey or even going into school internationally, as you grew up in Manitoba and then you moved to the States to pursue a career in hockey. That was already in and of itself obviously a difficult transition, or maybe one that you weren't expecting certain struggles that might have come even before the concussions happened, right? And so I'm just curious, dealing with all of that, kind of compounding all the issues that you might have faced with transitioning already, and now trying to find a kind of a new purpose and direction for your life, given that everything you've gone. What are you studying now, and what's your kind of new outlook in terms of where you hope to see yourself in maybe like 5 years from now, given that you've kind of had to transition where your career outlook is going?
Like it was definitely difficult to come to a realization that I was done as a player, because that's, again, you grow up being a hockey player wanting to play in the NHL. But yeah, I'm studying my MBA in strategic management, and hopefully I can be in a leadership role or a mentoring role down the future in some sort of consulting or business. But yeah, it was definitely steps that I had to take. And again, I refer back to, like, now I've been able to make my own decisions and kind of explore life. Like I was so focused on getting better at hockey and working at hockey that I wasn't able to kind of enjoy the finer things of life. So I've been doing a lot more things that I haven't been doing and kind of getting out of my comfort zone while still remaining true to kind of as yourself as a person. You just lost your kind of identity. So trying to get back to those roots and just like, yeah, just trying to experience way more, because my life is a lot more than just hockey now, and it's just something that I'm kind of grateful for, that I've got to recognize and realize this.
That's great. And we appreciate you coming on here and being personal and telling a story, because you really are doing a great service to anyone else that might be struggling and dealing with concussions, because that really is the idea, is to continue the conversation. So thanks again, Tanner. And we'd really like to chat with you again if you'd like to do that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right.
Take care. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.